Today I'll be showing you how to make the robot in the Choregraphe app do certain things like have a conversation and ask questions and be able to talk. So the first thing that we want to do is that we want to make sure that we set the language for the robot. And in order to do that, we go here to the left hand side and we search up set language and we drag this out, we connect it. And this box basically allows us to set the language for the robot to understand. So if we click on this toolbar over here, we want to make sure it's at English, and then we press OK, and that will basically set the language for the robot. And for this, we want to have a sort of introduction. We want the robot to be able to introduce itself. So here we can search up the say box and drag that out here, connect the two, and then double click on it, go to English. And so the say box can help make the robot talk. So if we want the robot to introduce itself, for example, we could type, "Hello, I am your virtual robot. There are many things I can do." Right, so it's just like a basic introduction for the robot. And now that we go back, let's say we want the robot to be able to ask a question and to continue a conversation. Well, a good way to be able to ask a question on this app is that you can search up the choice box. And the choice box allows the robot to be able to ask a question. So here you would have two boxes. The one on the left is basically where you would write your question. Here the default is, do you like chocolate? And then on the right you would write all the possible answers that the robot is able to understand. So we can ask like a simple question, like how many continents are on Earth? And then here we write all the possible answers that we want the robot to be able to understand. So for example, the correct answer would be 7, but then let's say somebody accidentally says the wrong answer and they say something like 6. So now the robot is able to understand an answer of 7 as well as an answer of 6. So for now, that's what we're going to do, and we go back to root. And so here we want to have two different reactions from our virtual robot for a correct answer as well as an incorrect answer. So, but first we need the robot to know which answer is actually the correct one. And so what we do now is we search up switch case and we drag it here and delete this. So what a switch case does is that it will basically make the robot know which answers are the actual correct ones. So what we want to do is that we want to connect this blue output to the switch case and then this black output from the choice box all the way to the end. So now what we want to do is we want to write the correct answer. Now our question was, how many continents are on Earth? And the correct answer would be 7. So here we would write 7. And it's important to have quotation marks around your switch case answer, or else it will not work. So now what we do is that we want to have different reactions for our answers. So let's say we want our robot to nod for a correct answer. So if you get this question correct, we want our robot to be able to nod its head. Well, then we would go to the search bar and search up switch case, or search up timeline, sorry, and drag it over. So if we double click on it, what a timeline does is that it is able to make the robot have movements. So if you see on the top here, there are a lot of keys, a lot of frames that you can use, and we can make keyframes. So if we want our robot to nod its head, we can, let's say we can go to the 10th frame, and then here we would go to the right hand section with the panel with our robot, and then we can click on it, and then we can make the robot move its head because we want it to nod. So here we would move this slider here, or we can change the numbers to make our robot's head go down for a nod. So for example, we could go to like 15 degrees, and then here you see how the robot's head is slightly angling downwards. Now we can store joints in the head. So here we would right click, and then we would go all the way down to store joints in keyframe, and then select head. And here you see there's a keyframe that is created. But then in order for the robot to nod, we want its head to go back up again. So then we might skip forward 15 frames to 25, and then click on the head again, and then we want it to go down. So maybe it goes down to -15, and now the robot's head is going up. So there the keyframe is automatically created. And then now we want our robot to be able to have its head go down again for the nod movement. So what we would do is maybe we go another 10 keyframes ahead to 35. And then we click on the robot's head again, and then make it go back to +15. And then now the robot's head is going down once again. And then finally, we can click on 45, another 10 keyframes ahead, and then we want our robot's head to go back to normal. So we just make this 0. And now its head is completely facing forward. And so if we play that back, and if you look at the robot on the right hand, it will now nod its head slowly. And so what we can do now is that we can right click on this timeline box and click on edit box, and then we can rename this to nod, because we want to be able to identify what this box does and the robot is nodding. Now in order to connect the two, you would want to take this gray output, not the black one but the gray one, and then connect it to the nod. What that does is that it makes, if you answer with 7, the robot will start nodding. And then now we can add a say box, and then we can connect it to the nod, and then say something like, correct, well done. So what happens is, if somebody gets the question correct, then the robot will nod, and then it will say, correct, well done. Now, what if somebody gets the question wrong? Well, what we want to do is we can make another timeline box, and then double click it, but this time we want our robot to shake its head because you got the question wrong. So in order to do that, we will want to do what we did last time, which is go to maybe the 10th keyframe, click on the head, and then let's say we rotate the robot's head like 30 degrees. Then we go here, we right click here, we go down to store joints and keyframe, and then the head, because we want to only store the movement in the head. Let's say we skip 25 to 25 frames, and then we want our robot's head to move -30 degrees. press enter, and here the keyframe will automatically store, and now the robot's head is moving. And then if we want the robot to move, to shake its head one more time, we can go to the 35th frame and then go back to 30. Now the robot's head moves towards its left again. And then we can go to the 45th frame up here and then make the robot's head go to the middle, which would be 0. And we can check if we did what we wanted to do correctly is if we go here to the top where it says motion, and then we can press play, and you can see the robot is shaking its head. So after we did that, what we want to do is to connect this top output to our timeline box where we shake our head. And then what that does is that any answer other than 7 will go to this box, which would be an incorrect answer. And we can rename that. We go to edit box, we can rename that to shake head because the robot's shaking its head. Now we want our robot to say something like try again if you get the question wrong. So we can drag another say box here, and we can connect the shaking head to the say box, and then connect the say box back to the choice option. So what this does is if somebody gets the question wrong, it will go to the robot shaking its head and then telling you to try again. So here we go in here, and then we type try again. Or you can type wrong, try again. So if you get it wrong, the robot will shake its head, it'll tell you to try again, and then it will ask the question again until you get it correct. So here, after you get the first question correct, let's say the robot now wants to tell a joke. What we can do is that we can make another say box and connect it to this say box. And this will kind of be our transition. So let's rename this transition. And the robot will basically transition from asking a question to telling a joke. So here we can make the robot say, I can also tell jokes. I can also tell jokes. You know, something simple like that. And then we can add another choice box and drag it down here, and then connect it. Just move this over so there's space. And so here the choice box, we can double click it, and then we can basically make the question this time our joke. So for example, we can write a joke. So just like a joke like, how do you throw a space party, right? It's a very clever joke. And so here we write the answers, or the possible answers that the robot will be able to understand. So for example, we can write the real answer to this joke would be you plan it, because there's planets in space, and you plan a party. So that would be the actual answer to the joke. But what if somebody didn't know and they say something like, I don't know? Or if they want to know the answer but they don't know it and they ask you how? So these are all the possible answers that the robot can understand. So what we want to do is that we want to make sure all of these outputs are connected to the end over here, so it will be able to register. And so the next thing we do is similar to what we did the first time, is that we will add another switch case, drag it here, and then we will want to connect the black output to the end over here. Let me move this over so there's space. Okay, so now we're going to connect this blue output to the switch case, and then we can rename this choice box joke, because that's where we tell our joke. So now we have, let me delete this. Now we have our switch case box, and we want to, make the robot have different responses for different answers. So we have our response of "you plan it," and remember to have quotations. So this would be one response is "you plan it," and you can add more if you want, but for this I'm just going to have 3 different responses that you can do. So but then if somebody says "I don't know" or "how," you can, so we can write this here, so "I don't know," and if somebody asks "how." So here we're going to have 3 different responses that the robot can pick up and understand and respond to. So we can add a say box. For someone who doesn't understand it and they say "I don't know" or they say "how," we will drag the bottom 2 gray outputs to the say box. So the bottom 2 outputs will correspond to the last 2 things that you put in the switch case. And then we can double click here on the say box, and then here we're going to tell them what the answer to the joke is, because they don't know or they want to know. So here we can say the answer is that you plan it. Funny, isn't it? And so that would be one response that the robot has if you get the question, if you don't get the joke, or if you want to know what the answer is but you don't know what it is. And then here we can make, we can copy and paste our nod timeline and connect, and what we want to do is connect this gray output, the first gray output, to the nod. And so if they do get it correct and they do say "you plan it," the robot will start to nod, and then we might want to drag another say box here, connect the 2, and then make the robot say that's correct. Right? So very simple, but if you get it correct, then the robot will be able to understand it, and the robot will tell you that you're correct. So then what we can do is that we can connect both of these to the end over here, and that will mark the end of our application. So this is the robot. This is how you make the robot be able to talk. And here, let me demonstrate it. So the bottom right, this dialog panel here. So what I want to do is I'll play it, and it's loading. So the robot says, "Hello, I'm your virtual robot. There are many things I can do." Then it asks how many continents are on Earth. So let's say I say 7. Robot will start to nod and say, "Correct, well done." And it'll tell me I can also tell jokes. How do you throw a space party? Let's say I say "I don't know." Then the robot will tell me the answer is that you plan it. Funny, isn't it? And then there's the end of our application. So there are many other things that you can add, but this is just a simple way of being able to have a conversation with the robot. And thank you for watching.